In about a month, I'll be officially 5 years locked. And saying that out loud is kind of crazy because I still remember what my hair looked like when I first started. I remember the short locks, the shrinkage, the frizz, and wondering what they were eventually going to look like. And now I'm at a point where my locks have become such a normal part of me that sometimes I forget just how much they've changed. But when I look back at pictures from year 1, 2, or even year 3, yeah, we have been through some things. And I feel like social media can sometimes make a lock journey look very simple. You start your locks, they get longer. And then one day you wake up with these long, mature locks. But there's so much that happens in between, not just with your hair either. So today I want to sit down and talk about what these almost 5 years have really been like. What changed with my hair, what surprised me, and probably the biggest thing, how my mindset towards my locks changed along the way. Because the way I look at my locks now is very different from the way I looked at them when I started. Before we even get into year 1, I think it's important to talk about why I started. I started my locks on September 21st, 2021, with 2-strand twists. And when I started, I had an idea of what I wanted my locks to eventually look like. I think we all do. You save pictures, you see somebody else's locks and think, oh, I want mine to look like that. You imagine the length. You imagine all the styles you're going to do. But the funny thing about locks is you don't really know exactly what you're going to get. You can choose your starter method. You can choose your parting. You can decide whether you want them smaller or larger. But you cannot completely control how your hair is going to develop. And I don't think I fully understood that yet. I was starting a journey with my hair that I never experienced before. I just knew I wanted locks. So we started. Year 1 was probably the year where I learned what people actually mean when they say trust the process. Because a lot of people say that when you start your locks. Trust the process. Trust the process. Okay, but what process? Because when you're actually in it, your hair can look completely different from week to week. My starter locks were 2-strand twists. There was shrinkage. There was frizz. There were days where things were doing whatever they wanted to do. And you're basically watching your hair figure itself out in real time. That was probably my first lesson. I wasn't going to be able to control every stage of this. And that's hard when you're constantly looking at the finished result on somebody else. Because you're looking at someone who's been locked for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. And then you're looking at your little baby locks like, so when are we doing that? But I really had to learn to let my hair be where it was. And looking back now, I actually appreciate that stage more than I did when I was in it. Because it went by fast. At the time, you think your locks are going to be short forever. And then one day you're looking at old pictures and videos thinking, wait, my hair used to look like that. And I think that's something I would tell anybody who's in their first year right now. Stop rushing to get to the version of the locks you see in your head. Take the pictures, take the videos, enjoy the awkward stages, because you're going to miss parts of it. Maybe not all of it, but parts of it. And you're gonna look back and realize how much was happening with your hair that you didn't notice at the time. Year 2 was when I started feeling like, okay, I see where we're going now. My locks were starting to look more established. They were changing. I could see more length. I could see them developing their own personalities. And yes, your locks have personalities. Some are thicker, some are thinner, some want to lay down, some may stand up. And this is when I really started realizing that all of my locks aren't going to look the same. And they weren't supposed to. That's something I talk about now because I see a lot of people obsess over every lock looking exactly the same and being perfectly uniform. The same size, the same shape, the same everything. Mine aren't, and I'm completely okay with that now. But earlier in my journey, I'd paid way more attention to those little differences. Year 2 was when I started understanding this is my head of locks. They're going to develop according to my hair, my density, my texture, my parts, my maintenance. And that's what makes them mine. That realization actually took a lot of pressure off. Because once you stop trying to make your locks look like somebody else's, you can actually enjoy what your hair is doing. By year 3, I was way more comfortable. This is where I feel like my relationship with my locks started shifting. In the beginning, you're paying attention to everything. Is this normal? Is that normal? Why is this one doing that? Why does this side look different? Why does her or his hair look longer than mine? Should mine look like this by now? Eventually, I reached a point where I was just like, girl, let your hair do what it's doing. Obviously, I still cared for my locks. And that's an important distinction. Being relaxed about your locks does not mean neglecting them. Locks need to be cared for. They're not a get them and forget them hairstyle. But I stopped feeling like I needed to micromanage them. And honestly, that's when having locks became more fun for me. I started appreciating what I could actually do with them. Different styles, curls, buns, half-up styles, braids, wearing them straight down, experimenting. And that eventually became a huge part of what you see from me now. I think sometimes there's this idea that once you have locks, you're supposed to wear them a certain way. And clearly, I did not get that memo. I love styling my locks. I love curling them. I love seeing what new style I can come up with next. Sometimes I start pinning locks with absolutely no plan, and somehow we end up with a cute style. And sometimes we don't. But that's part of the fun. Now year 4, this is where things got interesting because I started sharing my locks more online. And once more people started seeing my hair, I started hearing more opinions about it. Somebody thinks you retwist too often. Somebody thinks you don't retwist enough. Somebody thinks locks shouldn't be styled. Somebody thinks you're doing too much. Somebody thinks you're not doing enough. I've even had people who don't have locks tell me what I should be doing with mine. And I'm like, oh, okay. I've had people say locks aren't that serious. I've had people say hair doesn't need to be a journey. I've had people say genuinely rude things in general. And weirdly enough, all of that taught me something. Somebody is always going to have something to say, especially online. So at some point you have to decide, am I actually enjoying my locks? Because that's what matters. You don't have to maintain yours like mine. You don't have to style yours like mine. You don't have to use what products I use. And I don't have to do what works for you. And that's probably one of the biggest mindset changes I've had throughout this journey. I don't need somebody else to approve how I enjoy my hair. And I think that mindset extends beyond hair too. Sometimes we spend so much time wondering if we're doing things the right way because everybody around us has an opinion. Meanwhile, you're the one who actually has to live with the decision. And now, next month, I'll be at 5 years. And this is probably the most comfortable I've ever been with my locks. I know them now. I know what they like. I know how I like maintaining them. I know which styles I love. I know what I don't care to do. And I'm still learning. I think that's important too. Being 5 years locked doesn't suddenly mean I know everything about locks. I can tell you about my experience. I can tell you what has worked for my hair. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that because something worked for me, that everybody else needs to do it. And I actually think that's one of the biggest problems with lock conversations online. There is so much, you have to do this. Never do that. Everybody should fill in the blank. But hair doesn't work like that. Your lock journey is going to be influenced by your hair, your lifestyle, preferences, your maintenance routine, and so many other things. That's also why when people ask me things like, how many locks do you have because I want mine to look exactly like yours? I'm always trying to explain that's not how it works. You could have the exact same number of locks as me, and your hair could still look completely different. And that's a good thing. I don't think the goal should be to recreate somebody's head of hair. Get inspiration, absolutely. Save styles, learn from people. Ask relevant questions, but give your own hair permission to become whatever it's going to become. If I could summarize these 5 years, I think my biggest lesson would actually be stop trying to rush your hair into becoming something and learn how to enjoy what it is right now. Because I remember wanting length. Now I have length. And guess what? Sometimes these locks are in my way. I'm moving them when I'm getting dressed. I'm trying not to get them caught in things. And sometimes I think back to little baby lock me and I'm like, girl, this is what you wanted. Every stage comes with something. So if your locks are short right now, enjoy them short. If they're in that middle length, find styles you love at that length. If they're frizzy, your hair isn't ruined. If every lock isn't identical, that's okay. If your journey doesn't look like the person you've been watching online, that's okay too. It's not supposed to. 5 years sounds like a long time until you're almost 5 years in and wondering where the time went. So next month I'll be at 5 years. And I genuinely don't know what my locks will look like 5 more years from now. Because if you showed 2021 me my hair today, I don't even know if I would have believed you. But I'm excited to find out. I still have hair goals. I still want more length. I still want to try new styles. And I'm still going to experiment. But more than anything, I just want to keep enjoying them. Because that's what this journey has become for me. Not trying to have the perfect locks. Not trying to have somebody else's lock. Just taking care of mine, having fun with them, and letting them continue to become whatever they're going to become. So if you're at the beginning of your lock journey, or honestly, any stage of it, don't spend so much time looking ahead that you forget about the stage that you're already in. Take the pictures, try the styles, learn your hair, take care of it, and let your journey look like yours. Because almost 5 years later, I'm really glad that mine does. So if you like this video or it helped you in any way, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.